Hey everyone, just wanted to do a quick video update on the downstairs. So I will show you quickly. We recently had some people staying with us for like several weeks. So we removed the smaller sofa that was here, although it was roughly the same size, a little bit shorter, brown sofa that didn't have a fold-out bed, and put this one here so they could create a bed because there was 4 people staying with us, so we needed more sleeping spaces. So this came down. There used to be video games and stuff there and a TV. That's now gone, and I've moved it to the other room. And then what I did is I've taken the opportunity to actually pack up all my video game stuff, and I'm going to move that, taking it off these shelves, and I'm moving that, or have moved that rather. The video game stuff is coming to this guest room, so it's all going to be set up here when it's done, kind of out of the way and in here. My brother's going to come stay with us for about 3 months or so. He's going to come and stay with us while we're on holiday. So I thought I'd create the space that he's a bit of a video gamer, so I thought I'd put everything in one spot for him so he can just chill out. Still a big work in progress. I'm moving stuff around. I'm trying to also sort out this, which kind of went down the tubes because we had a bunch of toys and stuff in here for nephews and nieces. So I'm trying to bring some order to things. So let me show you what my plan is. Back to the living room. So this display cabinet, this one here with the lights, is full basically. I can probably squeeze in another like shelf there. Again, I could probably put in more shelves, that's not the problem, but in terms of space it's pretty limited. But what I decided to do was get these lights working. These little lights you see here on just underneath the shelves, display lights. They've been here since we moved in, but they weren't connected to anything, so I got them connected up the other day. And what I'll do is, let me zoom out a bit so you can see everything in one shot. One of them's not working anymore down on the bottom left, but the other thing that's a problem is they're actually very warm to the touch. I think they're halogen, so they are quite toasty, so you can't really have anything near them. So what I'm thinking of doing is stripping them out and replacing them with like LED light strips, which are better in terms of energy efficiency, and also don't produce heat as much, I think. But we'll check that out. That's a sort of nice to have project at this point. But I have decided that I'm going to clear these shelves, and I'm going to like board games and stuff. I don't know what I'll do with Catherine's board games. I'll figure something out, but the principle is to use these racks as display spaces. So I'm trying to clear anything that's not wargaming related or board gaming related off the shelf and get it out of the way so that I can basically store stuff out here. Because one of the troubles is, like, I'll give you an example. I've got all this lovely terrain. I never use it because it's stashed away in the back room, the one we went and had a look at in a minute ago. And a lot of it's not painted either. So, you know, I have some stuff here that's painted, you may remember from other videos. I'd like to actually start using this stuff. And then I also pulled out a select group of stuff. Basically, if it's historical, it comes on the shelves. If it's fantasy like this dwarf stuff, I'm trying to take stock of what I have. Once that's taken stock of and it's sorted, and I don't need it on the shelf anymore, that'll go into the back. But, and again, I'll show you what my problem is there in a minute. But yeah, so I'm kind of creating little spaces here of stuff to try to, as my wife's Bob Ross bobblehead, move that out the way. Trying to create spaces for like each period or project or army or whatever, just so I can see what's here. And then my goal, obviously this would be ideal for display, but I think there's a part of me that thinks if I have it out here, I'll actually know what needs painting. I can grab stuff off the shelf, paint it. When it's done, it just goes right back where it was. But again, that's kind of a thought in progress, not even a work in progress at this point. I just need to get everything out so I can see what I have. I'm trying to take stock of what I've got so I can prioritize things over others. So for instance, at the moment, the Crimean stuff is relatively high priority because it's a project I'm really keen on pushing forward. But other stuff like these late Roman or these Federati are not a high priority. But on the other hand, if I have stuff like these late Romans here that just need their shields and some basing done, that's a nice weekend project that I can just grab and just smash it and get it done in one go, right? The other thing as well is, like, with these Seleucid pikemen, they just need basing really at this point. Obviously in the shields as well, but the shields are quick and they're pikes. But I need them basing. And the thing is, I don't always know what bases I need. So I'm as I'm pulling stuff out, I'm thinking, oh, okay, those are pike. They might need deeper bases. And I can think about what size I need and then order those from Litco, because I do need to get an order in with them soon. But yeah, anyway, so I've also then decided I'm going to do a bit of a few years ago, Ralph was doing this really cool thing where he would like do a piece of terrain in between painting figures, or like he would always have a piece of terrain on the go. And I've decided I'm going to, like in so many things, I'm just going to copy him. And I'm going to get things like little bits of scatter terrain, like signposts and stuff, and some farm animals and houses and stuff, and like ruins and all, get those done kind of on the side while I'm doing other things. Because there's oftentimes you're waiting for stuff to dry or whatever. And now normally what I would do is I'd have figures on the go that I can just jump to, but sometimes you don't want to do something that requires a high degree of dexterity. You just want to smash something out that's super quick and easy. And terrain is a nice easy win like that. Plus it makes a table look great. Speaking of tables, so with the real estate that I've gained here, and the fact that this is not really a video game playing space anymore, I've been looking at table designs to put a table here in the middle of the room. I haven't measured the distance, but it looks wider than 2 meters. So that gets us 6 feet wide. We can have a 6 foot wide table, and then we can have it nice and long coming from that wall over there, maybe even with a gap. That ottoman over there can move. We just use it for the projector. But idea is to have the table set up in this room. But what I also need to do is think about having it so that the table can be collapsed when it's not in use. So there's a lot going on here at the moment. I'm trying to figure out what to do with the space. I did think of using the guest room as I'll just go and show you now. I did think of doing the guest room as like a wargaming room. You can see we even bought a bed frame that folds. The problem is that it's such a hassle, especially because you've got to take the mattress off. You've got to store the mattress in that room. Then you've got to fold it up, and that still takes up space, right? Because when it folds up, it's not particularly small. So you're not really saving anything. And we have guests so frequently, it feels like at any rate, that it's not really worth putting it away and coming back again. So I think I've sort of surrendered the idea, because I did think originally, especially given that it has this nice big strip light, I did think, wouldn't it be cool to have the table right under here? And it might be that I end up with 2 tables. One big table that goes there, that gets taken down when not in use. And then maybe a smaller table in here or maybe it's a case of, if I have people over, because this room is just generally bigger, this would be like the club room where everyone hangs out. When they're gone, I disassemble the table and I bring it in here. Put it up as like a more permanent table if that's folded away, but I don't know. I'm just trying to think of ways to get around this issue of tables and stuff, because I'd like to have a table out and about at all times, so that I always have the option of like having a game on that I can solo play by myself as and when time allows. So I wanted to also talk about one more thing in here. So this shelving is really naff. It's great when you've got stuff that's on movement trays, or when it's like got a wide base. But the problem is that these little divots sometimes catch like the bases. So if you have like a 25mm base, they like to sort of tip into these little gaps. So what I'm going to do is, especially looking over here, I think I'm going to get thin card, punch a hole in it, and then tighten it onto at the ends on the corners, tighten it onto these rails with a piece of Velcro or like a cable tie. And just basically strap down like a subsurface, so that you don't have that problem of stuff getting caught in the gaps. Then what my other plan then is to basically, if stuff's assembled and ready for painting, I want it to be out on the display cabinets if it's historical. If it's assembled and ready, I want it out on shelves in here. I'm gonna designate the far corner, so that wall over there and then the corner over there, as like 40k in fantasy. Those are not games that I typically play much anymore, but the thing about them is I'm loath to give them up. Number one is my rule is to never get rid of anything that I've painted, right, or that I intend to use. And the thing with fantasy and sci-fi stuff is I don't play it very often, but it's a great way to connect with people. So oftentimes you find that like people will typically have a go at fantasy or sci-fi, or they'll play with you, I guess, if you've got fantasy or sci-fi, because that's what they have and they're familiar with that, right? If they're a wargamer. And if they're not a wargamer, it's a lot easier to sell Lord of the Rings to somebody than a crusty old historical game, oftentimes, especially with the younger crowd. So what I want is, I want the ability to say, if people that I meet are like, oh, I'm not really into historicals because they're intimidated by it. If they say, but I do play sci-fi or whatever, I can say, well, okay, you can teach me Kill Team or whatever. I have figures, so don't worry about providing me with a painted army. I have that. Let's get on and play a game and you show me. And then the idea is if I meet them halfway, right? And if they then, if we play and if they like me or my club, or, you know, we get along as you know, you want to usually make sure that the people you're playing with are the correct sort, to put it in simple terms. Then what you would do is you'd say, okay, how about we play historical, do you want to try a historical game or whatever, right? But I always want the option to be able to like meet people halfway. Like if they want to play 40k, I don't like 40k particularly, but wargaming isn't always about the game, you know. Sometimes it's about the sociality of the whole thing, and so it's nice to just hang out with people while playing a game. So if they want to play 40k, I'll play 40k. If they want to play fantasy, I'll play that too. I just want to be able to be flexible on that front, but it's not a prio for me. So that stuff's going to go in the corner over there. I don't really want it on display because I don't really care for it. Some of it's quite nicely painted, I will say, but it's not something I particularly care for. My wife's not a huge fan either. She thinks it's like, she looks down upon fantasy and sci-fi gaming. She really likes historical stuff. So anyway, you can see I've got loads of stuff in boxes. Still needs sorting. I've been going through and trying to grab stuff that's been like, stuff like this, that's just in like loose, trying to sort it out and be like, okay, this is what it is. And then the idea is once those kind of that subsurface goes down, I can just have it all out and I can look at it. It's very easy at that point to just look at like a pile. So I'll give you an example. So yeah, we'll stop talking about this bit here, and we'll head back again. Sorry, we were doing a lot of heading around today, aren't we? And then I'll just wrap this up. But for instance, being a bit of a butterfly, you can see here there's stuff that like I started painting years ago that I kind of just fell by the wayside, usually because it got packed away for the move. Well, in between downtimes on bases of Crimean stuff, I can look at this and be like, oh, let me get these Gebergs here, get done, right? Whip them off the shelf, smash out a couple of figures, get them done, like finished, done, and then be like, right, let's move on, let's get the next thing. And I think in that way, the butterfly element of my brain will be satisfied, but I can also make sure that I am making meaningful progress where it matters. Yeah, so again, there's no real rhyme or reason here. It's fantasy, some Austrian Napoleonics, American War of Independence stuff, Germans, World War II, Poles, Greek War of Independence, Greeks, more Poles, sorry, Russians, Naval Brigade, Poles, vehicles for the Poles, French and Indian War stuff, Cape Wars, 15 Austrian-American Civil War, more Cape Wars. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's still in progress, but you get the idea. So the idea is to get everything off the shelves that isn't wargaming related and just get wargaming stuff on there. And I think it'll be easier to sort of showcase like what's done as I proceed through my work. You know, as I get the stuff done and on the shelves. The other nice thing about these shelves is they're a bit deeper and sturdier than the ones that are in there, which are just panes of glass. Always get a bit nervous about that, especially with metal figures. I don't want to overload it and then have the whole thing just collapse. So we'll see. But anyway, so a lot happening around here. A bit of a mess at the moment, as you can tell. There's just stuff everywhere. You know, I was sorting out bases as well. That's the other thing. I just need some order so I can understand what I've got on the, you know, in my collection and crack on with it.